Okay, what we do and how we do it is sort of similar to this old rock, paper, scissors thing. I remember seeing girls do this, or sometimes guy, I don't know. But it was basically, it was like this, I think. Uh, the scissors cut the paper covered the rock broke the scissors. And what we realize is that you can't always just use a hammer. You can't just always blow off the ball. You have to have different ways to apply force because everything isn't a nail. So we try to add a different force rather than match the force that our opponent has. We like to add a different force to disrupt him, okay, to change him. All right. And basically what we did was we had push, pull, and torque. All right. And we realized that push, you could push with anything, your head, your shoulder, whatever, your knee if you want to. But pull and torque, you needed your hands. So, we trained uncoupling our hands and making them, using the medicine ball, small targets, rolling the meatballs, all those things to make sure that we could have our hands do something that our feet weren't doing. Okay. We uncoupled them. Okay. Let's start with push. Okay. Push means when we use push, it means we've got an angle on him. He's either going this way and we're trapping him, or he's tied up with somebody else, and we're giving him a shot. Okay, and when you push, most people will turn their bodies, they'll totally turn, and when they turn, they give up that area. Okay, what we do is when we're trapping, we can turn the tank. But what we usually do when we're in zone or something like that, or if we're doing the hay bale, okay, what we do is we cow tip. Okay, we still use sticks and we turn the shoulders, but we don't turn the tank. We keep an open leg. Okay, and when we cow tip, this would normally be our gap. We've got a closed leg to our gap and an open leg to the linebacker. Okay, what we're doing is we're turning the turret, and that's the ubiquitous translation that the scientific translation. Okay, you're pointed in that direction. The tank is pointed in that direction. The turret is turned and making force in that direction. So we're making force not in the way we're pointed. Okay, but in the way that's necessary, and we're keeping an open leg so that we can escape. All right. This was the original coil concept, where we coiled on the front leg, weighed into the ground, coiled down into the ground, and made ourselves longer. Okay, and I likened it to the first baseman stretching for a peg from the shortstop. Okay, and the key is the coil and the long arms, all right? And keeping an open leg so that you can escape, okay? Now, going to pull, all right? This is like pulling somebody out of the ground, okay? And I used to call it lift, and then I called it pull, and now I call it flip, all right? But it's all the same thing. You're using hooks. You're trying to shorten that lever arm, okay, to be able to lift this man or pull him out of the ground. And you don't actually do it, you just flip him. If you get his feet off the ground, you're carrying him, and that's not efficient. You want to just flip him over. You want to use that as a fulcrum. But what it does, by pulling, you maintain coil and you bring your feet come under you. When you pull up, your front foot goes down into the ground and your feet come forward. All right. You can't play leaning on each other. You can't have your feet way back here and his feet way back here. That makes a four-legged animal. It's stable until somebody shrugs or somebody slings you or whatever. Okay. You got to get your weight into the ground, and you don't want to fall into the pool. So if you push him, okay, it doesn't bring your feet. All right. And you fall down, or he grabs you and pulls you with him, and you've lost everything. So you don't want to do that. Okay. When we pull, okay, what we're trying to do is keep our feet. Now the third one, I got to turn this thing. I can't turn it off because I don't know what I'm doing. The third one is torque. Okay, and torque is the ubiquitous circular force. We kind of came up with this. I mean, we observed it, and then I started to say, well, that's circular force. Okay, and what we're doing is we're either, if we don't have an angle, we have to create one. And by using torque, okay, this is where elbow is out. Okay, sometimes you're going to get caught in yellow light, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're face to face, that's the way it goes. But you add force at an angle using torque, okay? And what we realize is if you have the closed leg to the torque side, this is a hook also, okay? Now you can see guys with straight arms and they try to club, but it's not as strong as this. When you torque, you pull this shoulder back, okay? Pull it back as this one's going forward. So it creates a circular action, okay? And when you torque, all right, you got to have your weight on both feet, all right? Both feet have got to be in the ground. And what that does is it condenses you or coils you anyway, okay? You maintain the coil. This is where all the force is coming from, okay? And by adding force at the angle, okay, if he's putting all his force this way and you add force, you destabilize him. You shove him over that foot, and all of a sudden it's easy to move him, okay? And generally speaking, once we add torque on the run, we tear, we maintain contact, okay? And we drag his ass like he's a drunk. We're dragging him out of the bar. And pass protection, we can throw. And of course, the tackles can throw a guy up the field because the quarterback's over here, but the guards and centers got to throw him this way. All right. But anyway, that's torque. All right. Now, the last thing we did, and I just recently kind of gave it this name, the rock. Okay, now we're galloping rather than cow tipping. Here's our gap. We've got an open leg to the gap, a closed leg to the man, and it's another translation. We're pointed in this direction, but we're making force in that direction. We're maintaining a free hand, okay, and we're trying to resist his change. He's got an angle on us, okay. We may have created that angle, but in order to do what we have to do, we got to give up we got to give him that opportunity to get an angle. And what we do is we added the shoulder roll, I think in 14 or 15, to take away his target, okay? And with the weight on the closed leg, we'll go and rewind back into him. I recently used a different term for rewind, but we go to rock back into him and put the weight on the closed leg, all right? And we're going to chip him with a shoulder or push him, shove him, Heisman Trophy him with the hand, okay? So we're either using a thumb roll or we're using just the Heisman, okay, a locked arm. Depends on the width, all right, and also the play, but let's not get into that. Okay, it's another translation. What we're doing is we're applying force to an opponent without rotating to him. So in other words, if we rotate to him, we can, we got we can put force on him, but we give up our gap, okay? So those are the things we do. We don't, everything's not a nail, okay? We just don't want to use a hammer, okay, all the time, all right?